Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Welcome to my channel. I thought I would pop on and reintroduce myself. We have had a bunch of new subscribers join us. I want to say thank you very much. And of course, thank you to my long-time subscribers for your continued support. I really appreciate it, guys. In today's video, I'm doing some dressing table decor. So I found some thrifted items that I have given a makeover. I am using new products today as well to give you some fresh ideas, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on today's projects. I hope that you enjoy today's video. Our first project is this lovely little jewelry box that I found. The sides open up, it's got some sweet drawers. We're going to give it a makeover. My first step is to take the little drawers out, and I need to take the hardware off them. So I have a small drill bit on, and I'm going to very carefully remove each of the screws, and I'm going to make sure that I keep the screws in a little Ziploc bag as well to make sure that I don't lose anything. So the sides of this jewelry box do come off, so I'm also going to remove the hinges for those and place those in the little Ziploc bag as well. The little sides have some attachments for hanging necklaces, so we need to take those off so that I can get in and paint the inside part that is also wood. To protect the lining inside of the necklace compartment, I've added some cling wrap and I'm taping that in with some masking tape. So the sides are going to be nice and neat, and obviously we're going to protect that fabric from any paint drops. When painting a surface like this, it's very important that you clean it well. I'm using Dixie Belle's White Lightning cleaner. I'm cleaning each of the parts, and then I'm going to be using some water to rinse off my cleaner. The proper prep is really important. I haven't shown you guys how I do that in a while, so I thought I'd show you today. The surface of this jewelry box is pretty glossy, so I'm taking some 220 grit sandpaper and I'm giving the surface a light scuff sand. This is just to help the paint to have something to grip onto. Once I've scuffed the surfaces I'm going to paint, I will wipe off the sanding dust with a damp cloth. Today I'm using Dixie Belle's Savannah Mist chalk mineral paint as my main paint color, so I'm going to go around and I'm going to paint the body of the jewelry box. I'm also going to paint the little drawers in this color as well, but I am going to pick another color to use on the sides that we removed. So I'm going to make my way around the jewelry box very carefully, painting over the surface, watching for any drips. And one of the reasons I picked this color is that it has a lot of pigments in it, so it's only going to take 2 coats. And because the sides of the jewelry box actually open, I want to make sure I don't get too much paint buildup because it could restrict the movement. So if I picked white, for example, I'd probably have to do 3 coats. So in using this color, I'm going to make sure I don't have too many layers of paint and everything can slide or open and close the way it's supposed to. Also, to make sure the drawers go in and out smoothly, I'm only going to paint the top lip and a little strip down the side. I am then going to also paint the back of the piece. I like to do this because you never know where an item is going to be situated. It might be in a place where you can see the back, so this will make it look like a more finished project. For the sides that we removed, I'm going to paint each of those with Dixie Belle's Drop Cloth chalk mineral paint. This is a lovely color combination, so I definitely feel like this two-tone look will work. Just a reminder that you can find a full product list in the description below, and most of these products on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. When it came time to paint the little lip around the edge of these pieces, I made sure that I had very little paint on my brush, and I just painted in an outward motion just to make sure that I don't get too much paint buildup on the inside. We've taped that off. We want to keep it nice and neat. Once my 2 coats of the drop cloth paint were dry, I took Iron Orchid Designs Transfer English Toile and I'm lining it up on the surface where I want the transfer to go, and then I'm using the grid lines to cut out where I need to. To apply the transfer, I'm carefully peeling off the backing, lining it up where I want it to go, and then carefully pressing the transfer down. Once it's down, I'm going to use the transfer tool that comes in the pack to go over the top of the entire design to start off with, and then we can start actually rubbing and burnishing the design down. So I like to pick a corner, and I'm just going to fold over the transfer a little bit because I want it to curve around the top of our little piece there. Then I'm picking up the corner and I'm going to start rubbing the transfer down. This has quite a lot of small parts to it, so it can be a little bit fiddly. We also have a little indent here that we need to work the transfer in, so I used a pencil and also the edge of my transfer tool to work it down into that little groove. So I'm going to continue the same process, rubbing against my transfer and lifting that plastic as I go. I have sped up the process because it can be a little bit involved. For the second side piece, I repeated the same steps as before, working out how much of the transfer I needed, using the grid lines to help me cut it out, and then I'm going to start rubbing my transfer down. These are very easy to use. It's just when they have a lot of details like this, you just have to be sure that you have them all rubbed down before you lift up your sheet. And then I'm burnishing it with the transfer sheet that it comes with. I also decided to add a couple of little designs just to the front piece. So I'm just cutting out little bits and pieces that I think will fit on the edge there. We just want a hint of that toile so that it looks like it's sort of wrapping around. I didn't try and work it into the grooves though. I felt like it just would look a little bit messy. Transfers can crack if you try and force them to go across too many curves and lines. So I just left a little bit of a gap down the side there. To seal my transfer, I'm using Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in Clear. I'm applying it with a natural bristle brush, and then I'm going to buff it back with a microfiber cloth. I'm going to use the same product to seal my entire jewelry box. I'm using wax today to seal my project, but you can also seal your paint with a clear coat, and it is definitely recommended that you do seal over the top of your transfers with a wax or a clear coat, just to ensure their longevity. I decided for the jewelry box today that I wasn't going to add any sort of colored waxing or antique glazing. I wanted to keep it pretty neutral and just maintain the tones that it had. But if you like a bit of a grungier look, this would be the point that you can come in with a brown wax or a dark glaze to give your piece a bit more of a vintage feel. Once my jewelry box was all sealed, I decided to start adding back the hinges for the sides and to start putting the piece back together. So I'm just going to take my time and add my screws to the hinges on the different sides that we took off. I'm adding the hinges there first, and then I'm going to reattach the side pieces to the jewelry box itself. I also then reattached the handles to each of the little drawers. Once I had the piece back together, I felt like the top needed something more. So I have this casting that I created out of resin from a mold that I found on AliExpress. This is just a generic mold. I will link it down below. And I'm going to paint that with the same drop cloth that we used on the sides of the jewelry box. So I'm going to paint that up. And then once that's dry, I'm going to use Gorilla Super Glue to attach it to the top. Once my glue had dried, I sealed the piece with Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in Clear. And here's our finished jewelry box. I'm really happy with how this turned out. That paint has completely transformed what was once a very tired piece. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. For our next project, I'm going to be using this lovely frame that I thrifted. I actually really love the paint job already. So what we're going to do today is create some artwork to go inside. Now, I haven't used this lovely lady from the Brocante Transfer. I think it's Marie Antoinette, I'm not sure, but we're going to use her today. So I've cut her out, and then I'm going to be taking the backing of the frame out so that I can use the glass from the frame to measure some artist paper that we're going to use today. So I have the glass, and I'm going to trace around the outside with a pencil so that I know where to cut. Once I have my paper sorted, I've peeled off the backing to my transfer, and I'm going to press it down. I'm then going to use the transfer tool to rub against the design. I'll pick up a corner and then start to carefully lift. If I miss a spot, I can just put it back down and keep on going, but these transfers stick really well to paper. I'll then burnish it with the carrier sheet. The background looked too stark, so I'm going to use some of Dixie Belle's Au Naturel Voodoo Gel Stain. I've watered it down a little, and I'm going to go around the outside of our lovely lady there. So I'm just using my brush, I'm going around the outside. If I get any of that Voodoo Gel Stain on the image itself, I was able to just use my finger to gently brush that away or soften the line. So I'm going to continue adding that Au Naturel stain around the outside until I have the look that I want. Once my paper was completely dry, I put it back into the frame and then attached the backing. Once I started having a look at it, I decided that I also wanted to add some gold, just to add a little bit more French country, a little bit of elegance. I've just got a little bit on my finger, and I'm just very lightly touching the edges where I want it to go. I just want a hint of gold. And here's a look at the finished project. This was a quick and easy flip, but sometimes all you need is some new artwork and a little bit of gold gilding. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. Our last project today is this little white pot that I found, and I'm going to be adding another mold from AliExpress. I did some resin casting here, and we're going to add it to the front of the pot. Now, if I want to be able to bend it to a round surface, I need to heat up my resin. So I'm using my heat gun to heat it up so that it will become pliable and I'll be able to shape it to the pot itself. So we're going to have the design sitting a little bit above the pot, and it's also going to then join up with the bottom. It is going to jut out a little bit, but I think we can definitely make it work. I'm using Gorilla Super Glue Gel and also some hot glue for that immediate adhesion, and I'm going to position it on the pot where I want it to go and hold it there until that glue takes hold. I'm also using my heat gun to keep the casting warm so that it will continue to be flexible while it gets glued down. I'm then using some of Dixie Belle's Drop Cloth Chalk Mineral Paint over the top of the resin casting and over the rest of the pot. I did spray this before we started with Rust-Oleum's Clear Matte Sealer as our bonding primer here. Once that's dry, I'm going to use one of my favorite mixtures, chocolate chalk mineral paint mixed with Dixie Belle's Sea Spray texture additive. You can see I'm brushing it on, but then I'm also dabbing and stippling over the top of the product to get some texture. We are going to do a lot of layers here today again. I hope you guys aren't sick of these looks, but we're going to approach it in a little bit of a different way. So once my chocolate mixture is dry, I'm adding some sea spray to that drop cloth paint, stirring it well. You can see it is now nice and thick. And then I'm going to apply it over the pot, but I'm going to leave some of the areas of brown showing through. And I'm just going to work my way around until I have the mixture on the rest of the pot. At this stage, I did not add any product to the inside of the pot. I wanted to see if I could leave it just in case somebody wanted to put a real plant in it. Once this layer was completely dry, I grabbed some of Dixie Belle's Gloss Clear Coat and added one coat over the top. I want to be able to get some cracks and some texture with our next step. We're going to be using milk paint, and by sealing the porous paint surface that we're going over the top, I'm more likely to get that kind of a finish, and also it will help me when it comes to wet distressing. I'm then going to grab Fusion's Sea Glass milk paint. I'm going to grab a capful of that and I'm going to put it into a container, and then I'm going to put equal amounts of water in and stir it really well. So you want equal parts milk paint and water. I'm stirring it really well, and then I am using actually a milk frother that I got from Temu, and I'm just mixing it up really well. I find that this thickens the paint. I really like this. It helps me get some texture, and it's always fun to have a bit of a play with techniques to see what you like. I'm then going to apply the milk paint. You can see that it is nice and thick, but I'm going to allow my brush to skip certain areas because remember, I still want some of that drop cloth to show underneath. I still want some of that chocolate mixture to show. We're just doing some layers. So I'm just going to add that mixture over the entire outside of the pot. To achieve the texture and cracks that we were talking about, I grabbed my heat gun and I'm speeding up the drying process. So I'm concentrating that heat in certain areas. This will allow that paint to crack. We won't get any chipping today, but we're still going to get a lot of fun texture. You can see here what we've managed to achieve. Now, to create a little bit of a subtle difference, next I added some of Fusion's Hotel Robe to my already mixed up sea glass mixture. I'm adding a little bit more water, and then I'm going to stir it up, and I'm going to continue adding little bits of that Hotel Robe, that lovely white milk paint, to my sea glass mixture. I want to lighten it up just a little bit, and then I also use that milk frother again. So we're just going to have a subtle variation in blue tones. This is going to add to that aged effect. As I'm applying this one, I'm applying even less than before, and you can see I'm applying it horizontally and then I'm changing directions. And just like before, we're going to speed up that drying process to encourage some texture and some cracking. Here is how our pot is looking so far. You can see we've got some lovely texture, some tonal variation. I'm going to grab a wet wipe and I'm going to do some wet distressing. Because we have that gloss clear coat down, I'm only going to be going down to the sea spray and also the drop cloth mixture. I'm not going to get all the way back down to the resin. At this point, I decided that the white interior was too stark. It looked too new for the look we were going for. So I added some of our milk paint to the inside. Remember, I have primed this with Rust-Oleum's Clear Matte Sealer. We might get a few chips here and there, but that will just add to the aged effect. Next, I took some more of that drop cloth mixture and decided to add a little bit to that center oval there that we have. I wanted to add this so that it looked like there may have been some sort of a design in the center that's worn away over time. So I'm adding that, and then once that's dry, I'm going to come in with a little bit more of that sea glass and Hotel Robe mixture, and then I am going to do some wet distressing to pull that back just a little bit more. This is just adding to that aged old world effect. To seal our pot, I'm using Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in Clear, and I'm going to go over the outside of the pot and the interior. This is going to seal up that paint really well. Once I covered the whole pot with that wax, I then used a microfiber cloth to buff back the excess. To give this more of a weathered outdoor look, I'm going to use some of Dixie Belle's Dixie Dirt in charcoal. I'm applying it with a small little artist brush and then using a larger clean brush to help spread out and blend in that Dixie Dirt. So I'm just adding it to the areas where I feel like dirt would naturally accumulate. And then I'm also adding it to the bottom rim of the pot as well. I feel like the dirt would definitely accumulate there over time. If you don't have Dixie Dirt, you could use a dark wax to age this up, a glaze, or perhaps a paint wash. Finally, we're going to use some of Dixie Belle's Gold Gilding Wax. I'm just running my finger over the top of some of the raised areas. I'm just applying a little bit here. I don't want it to be too over the top. I want this to look like gold gilding that's worn away over time. And then I'm grabbing a wet wipe to further tone it back. I'm just wiping it back a little bit to just again make it look like it's faded and worn. And here's our finished French style pot. I love how this turned out. That beautiful casting and the milk paint really transformed what was a plain pot. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it's inspired you to make over some decor for your dressing table or your bedroom. Let me know if you had a favorite project from today. If you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and share it out to a friend that you think might enjoy it. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.